Guys, we just hit level 10, no clickbait. We just hit level 10 today, and we have unlocked the really wide vehicle, the Volt 4x4 Offroader. Let's get started. Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. It is MisterVince, and today we are actually going to be looking at the new Volt 4x4 Offroader. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it the slowest season vehicle? Watch the video to find out. Now, if you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, because only a small percentage of my viewers are, subscribed. So please hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So, the new 4x4 Offroader is a new Arachnid version, of course. And yes, the Volt 4x4 and the Arachnid look very similar, except the Volt 4x4 is much wider than the Arachnid, which is why the garages had to be updated so it can fit with the new Volt. So, of course, it took me approximately 16 days just to hit level 10, from scratch, with the Season Pass, without the twice XP Game Pass. So we're going to go ahead and escape the prison, and we're going to drive over to the Ceremony Square, also known as the Hype Zone. So the Hype Zone is the number 3, and all you have to do is to get outside the prison, and you'll be able to make it there. Just close out the season info, and you will be able to see the new Volt 4x4. And as you can see, the tag says Volt 4x4, and of course it has a total of 7 letters, which is not the max, but it is a pretty long amount. You may also notice that the tires do look a lot different compared to the Camaros. If you look at the Camaros is much thinner than the Volts. As you can see, the Volts is much wider, and it looks like an Arachnid, except you cannot input a spoiler, as you can see. And you can see a police siren if you're a police officer. So we are going to compare its stats. We're not going to speed test this vehicle, unfortunately, but we are going to be driving around with this new vehicle. It is the second ever Volt type vehicle in jailbreak, as you can see. And because of this, it sounds like a Volt bike. Now, because my audio is turned off, you cannot hear the sounds of the Volt bike or the Volt 4x4, because they're both exactly the same. So because of this, you cannot hear sounds, but we are still going to be driving around, and it's pretty hard to tell if my headlights are on or not. And it also turns it on the back of it, which is pretty nice. So right off the bat, the reverse speed is not the best. It's pretty comparable to the Camaros. It's not the fastest. It's better than the Volt bikes though, but it's not the fastest in the game. And it is the second vehicle in jailbreak to ever input trails on its wheels, as you can see, which is amazing. And the braking is also pretty decent. It's not the best. It's pretty much like a Bugatti's brakes, so it's not the best brakes in the game. It makes sense because it's pretty much like pretty heavy. Not as heavy as the Bugatti Veyron, but it's still pretty heavy, because you can tell that the brakes are just pretty long to put a full stop on the Volt. But let's see how fast it can go in one full pace. And my engine is level 5, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so launch is basically a little slower than the Veyrons, which is not that bad. And you can notice that the acceleration is pretty good. It's not the best acceleration. It's just a little better than the Veyrons and the Torpedoes, around there. And of course, it only did 1 gear bunk, so yeah. And after that first gear bunk, it finally reached top speed, which is amazing. Unfortunately, just like the Teslas and the Volt bike, you cannot determine if it already reached top speed, because the sound is a Tesla and because of this, it goes silent, and you can't determine if it already reached its top speed. So, as far as I can tell, it only had one gear bunk, and it finally reached its top speed afterwards. So its acceleration is a little better than the Torpedoes and the Bugattis, not as good as the Moltens, the Chirons, the Audis, but it's still a pretty good acceleration. Launch is also pretty decent, but does it UFO? And yeah, it actually does UFO. That is pretty impressive, as you can see. And the trails are glitchy. As you can see, I'll let this fellow criminal inside. So that is the UFOing. It does UFO, but it's not the fastest, and it's kind of crazy. Handling is also pretty good. It's not gradually the best handling, and unlike the Bugatti Veyron and Chiron, it does not have a bad grip, and it has a pretty decent grip. It's not the worst grip, it's not the best grip either. It's pretty much comparable to the Molten and the Torpedo, so it has pretty good brakes, handling, and all that, but of course, it does suck in terms of top speed, as it's comparable to the Monster Truck. And a few days after the April update got released, it had a buff in its top speed, acceleration, and launch, so it's a little quicker. And the off-roading of the vehicle is not that bad either. It's graduate, it's just okay. And it does actually have pretty good off-roading because it's basically an off-roader, not like, you know, a supercar or a hypercar. And yeah, it's pretty good and all, but it's not the best off-roading. It's not as good as the Arachnids, but it is pretty decent. As you can see, it's pretty much comparable to the Torpedoes, the Moltens, and the Beam Hybrid, as well as the DeLorean, so that's pretty cool. And the spoiler can also be customized by the texture, so that's pretty cool. And the void rims are kind of glitchy on the vehicle. The tires are good, but the rims are just kind of messed up. Now, what about the customizations? You can customize the brakes, which is for pretty much every vehicle that has the ability to customize it. That's for every single land vehicle except for the Volt Bike. You can also customize the suspension height on like the Volt Bike, the wheel color, the tires, the rims, the glow, the engine, the body color, the texture, the interior detail, the main, and the license plate. There is no secondary body color or in the seat color customization on like the Chiron, the Porsche, and the Jeep, so that kind of sucks. And you guys are kind of wondering if you can drive in first person. The answer is yes, and it is the first ever vehicle that can be driven in first person, whereas the player is actually outside of the vehicle, not inside. So that is really cool. That is pretty fast. I think it's a little faster than its predecessor, which is the Volt Bike. So it's pretty gradually really quick, but it's not the fastest vehicle in Jailbreak. And sometimes it is kind of bouncy, so it does bounce in times, but it's not the best. It's not the worst either. It's pretty good. I'm not going to complain about it. It's pretty graduate. I just wish that the bouncing is like a little better. Like, I wish the off-roading was better than it is right now. So it actually is legit off-roader, not just like a simple off-roader. So that's pretty nice, and it seats up to 2 people. So that's pretty cool that you can actually sit up an additional passenger. And a question, but can you actually equip weapons on the passenger seat of the Volt 4x4? And if you guys were kind of wondering, I'm going to have to eject my fellow passenger so I can show you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get in the passenger, and the answer is yes. You can customize your vehicle, but that's not the question. But yes, you can actually equip weapons in the passenger seat of the vehicle, but obviously you can't on the driver's seat, which is for every vehicle in the game. So that makes logical sense. And another thing about the Volt 4x4 is that despite the fact it's, you know, a UFOing vehicle, just like some other vehicles, it actually has terrible brakes. It is the worst braking vehicle that can still UFO, which is okay, I guess. So that is it for the Volt 4x4. It took me about 16 days to hit this really awesome reward. And the stock look of it is pretty nice, but it's not the worst, not the best either. I just wish it stopped bouncing a lot, and I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna wrap it up. If you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And also share this video to others in social medias like Twitter, Instagram, whatever kind of social media you use. Please share the video if you guys enjoy, or you're just willing to know the stats of the Volt 504. And as always, my name is MisterVince. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.